My heart is broken. And by that, I mean I have a heart disease that's yet to be diagnosed, but it might be AFib. Now, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about fitness trackers / smartwatches. This is the Google Pixel Watch 4, and it's the latest in the Pixel Watch series. And I'm excited about it for a few reasons. One, I was a daily user of the original Pixel Watch for about half a year, and I really liked the form factor. I liked the fit, the shape, the style, the interface, but the battery life was absolutely brutal. I'm talking like it didn't even really last the day without using the battery saving mode. And that's kind of remained true since the dawn of Pixel Watches. But it seems like this time Google's promising that we're gonna have way better battery life and we're still gonna have a nice sleek form factor. And right away, Google has classed up their packaging, okay? I currently, for reference, am using a OnePlus Watch 2R, which I got for free when I purchased my OnePlus 13R. And I don't wanna say I love this thing, but I like a lot about it. One, it's a little big. It's not the most comfortable, but holy crap, the battery life literally can last for 2 weeks if I want it to, and it does a great job of all of the fitness tracking features that I want from it. How I use my smartwatches, I'm not the most interacting, I'm not trying to, send texts or take calls from it. I mainly care about it for the fitness aspects. Here we have documentation as well as a large strap. I will use a small strap because I have slender wrists. The watch comes in two sizes, a 45mm diameter and a 41mm diameter. This is the 45mm diameter. I think both of those sizes will look fine on most wrists. Look at the size of this thing. This thing's honking, despite the fact that it's only 2.6mm greater in diameter. Let's take a look at the actual watch itself. On the bottom, it has a sensor cluster that looks very similar to the one that was on the previous Google Pixel watches. And it still maintains the proprietary, it's good, but proprietary watch strap mechanism. It's really easy to take on and off a watch strap, but because it is proprietary, you have so few choices. Google does a decent job of offering varieties, but when you have a watch that uses a typical lug-based system, you can really get any kind of watch strap that you like. We have the action button and the crown that can also be rotated and is a button. And then on the other side, we have these two kind of electrodes. Oh right, this is the new charging standard, which is neither here nor there, except for the fact that within the 4 versions of Pixel watches, they've had 3 different chargers, and it's getting kind of silly. So this is the charger. I guess it just magnets in there, like that. And the bottom of the charger even has some soft touch rubber to keep it more in place. And it seems like it holds on pretty well. At least when you knock over the watch, the charger's likely to come with it. The good news is that this is a fast charger, and Google claims that you can get 15 hours of battery life on the device within 15 minutes of charging. So if you did forget to plug it in the evening, you can just hop it on the charger for a little bit. You're gonna be totally fine. And spoiler alert, I did use this ahead of time. I found that claim was pretty accurate. And the fact that you can do 15 hours and 15 minutes implies that the full battery life on this thing is pretty good. They claim 30 hours of battery life on the 41mm model and 40 hours of battery life on the big boy. And that's with an always-on display, which is great because I'm in the school of thought that if it doesn't have an always-on display, you don't call it a watch, okay? This thing has an always-on display, it's now a watch. When it doesn't have an always-on display, it's a goddamn joke. Before we turn it on, let's take one last look at all of the sensors. It has all of the usual suspects when it comes to health sensors. You got your SpO2, heart rate, it can do ECGs and can detect AFib. We'll talk about that in a second. As well as it has accelerometers, gyroscopes, ambient light sensors, electrical sensors for skin conductance. It's got kind of everything that you'd expect in a flagship model watch, and maybe only a couple that are missing from, say, the most premium Apple watches. Let's turn it on, but not before we turn you on to our sponsor. Thanks UGREEN for sponsoring this video. Their 10,000 mAh MagFlow power bank has a maximum wireless output of 25 watts and 30 watts of two-way wired charging, and a whole bunch of other features to keep you topped up on the go. Monitor the remaining battery percentage you have left with a nice and bright LED display, and with the built-in USB-C carrying strap, you might not even have to bring another cable around with you. Pick up one today using our link in the description. I've already done the setup on this device. I will say that the setup experience is pretty good, except for there was a couple pretty big caveats. One, if your Fitbit account is on a different Google account than the one that you want to pair with your phone, things get pretty wonky. I set this up on my work email, but my Fitbit account is on a personal email, and I couldn't easily reconcile those until I factory reset the watch also deleted the entire watch app from my phone and deleted the Fitbit app. And after I did all of those things, I still realized I had to also remove the Bluetooth pairing of the device. So I spent like 2 hours turning this thing off and on and factory resetting it before I could actually get it hooked up to the right Gmail account. So just make sure you know what your Fitbit account is, because it's different from your Google account, but now they're very much merged, which is even more confusing because previous Pixel Watches used the Google Fit app a lot, but now Fitbit has kind of merged in. It's kind of messy. So just that's something to look out for on the setup. When I didn't have to deal with the Gmail stuff, very smooth, very simple setup. Everything just kind of works like that. I think that the wristband is quite a nice texture. It's like a soft touch silicone, very sporty, and it has this kind of a little metal latch mechanism as opposed to something that's a little bit more finicky. However, I have spent so much time in my life with a typical clasp that I don't need like help, and I find that I'm more concerned about how this is going to affect taking it on and off because it's just kind of hooking into this lip. I'm worried that this plastic here is going to like stretch or degrade, and I might need to replace the watch band before I actually would. I also wish that the sizes were slightly closer together. I find that it's often a little too tight or a little too loose, especially when I am concerned about getting a good contact for tracking my heart rate while also being comfortable. The first one thing that you can notice, and one thing that Google pointed out a lot, was the Actua display or whatever, the Hawktua display, which is pretty neat. All of the Pixel Watches have had this really nice domed glass cover that might make, you know, protecting the thing a little bit harder and a little bit clumsier, but always has looked really slick. But now the screen underneath is actually domed, and that's supposed to make it so that at various different angles, you have a little bit more visibility. I'm gonna put my other watch on. I don't know, man. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference. It's tough to see in the monitor. It doesn't even really spill over the sides that much, which I thought it was like, they were kind of gonna advertise it like, oh, you'll have stats like right along here, you know? Like you could see the time on it would be like an always on display that was like super battery mode, but it only had pixels right here lit up, so you could just kind of like glance down and see like it's 1212 or something. That would be really cool. They didn't do that. It's a nice crisp display that goes up to 3000 nits of brightness, so you can read it in pretty much any conditions. The bezels, they do a lot in WearOS to hide the bezels. If you play like kind of a stupid game that I bought literally to demonstrate the bezels on this thing, you can see that it's not that good. Like a good chunk of bezel. I don't really think that matters that much. It's a big enough display for me. I can fit all of the complications that I want on here easily. It's quite a responsive interface with this new Snapdragon chip. I've been really, really impressed by it. Usually in WearOS, there's a lot of visible chugging. It happens occasionally still, but for the most part, a very smooth experience. On the whole, WearOS is pretty similar, but now they have a lot more Gemini in it. And by default, the Gemini button is on the
watch face.
They also have like a raise to speak feature where if you keep it by your side and then you lift it up like this, it should trigger Gemini and you should be able to tell by a little sensor at the bottom, but it's not doing that. Oh my God. It's another account thing because the watch has to match my Fitbit account. It's set up on one personal email. My Gemini account is not set up on that personal email. So I have to switch to the Gemini on my phone to match the one on here, but the Gemini on my phone is the one that's connected to all of my like home devices and my home network. So I can't use the it's stupid. Why does my Fitbit account determine what the frickin' Google account is? So now it's set up, it should work like this. So it should be able to say like, hey, or hey, automatically recognizes it. It also should be, I have it down here, and then I go like this, like, and then I go like, and then it's kind of finicky as to when it usually works. Like right now, it's not working at all. But I would also have it so that it would work. I'd do raise to speak, and it'd be like, I'm ready for input. But then you still have to say the keyword. You still have to say, hey, assistant, to get it to listen to you. So what's the point of having raise to wake if they want you to have the voice match activated before raise to wake? If I still have to say the action word, then it's the same as me having it here and just saying the action word. And of course it has to be that way, because could you imagine if like every time you did this and you were like having a conversation, you just wanted to check it and then it tried to like take a whole Gemini conversation of everything that you're saying? So like it's like a feature that doesn't exist and doesn't make sense. Am I stupid or like has anyone else realized that? Like, I don't know if this is like just Adam, you dumb. You don't understand how it worky. Anyways, let's talk about health sensing. I think that WearOS is in a really good state, and now that it seems that Google is like finally figuring out that they actually want to use Fitbit, the fitness tracking is also really good. I took it on a couple of runs while wearing this as well and kind of compared the results, and they seemed relatively accurate. And it also does a really good job of detecting when you've done physical activity that you forgot to track. Like I went on a 30-minute walk the other day, forgot to track it. It said, hey, we saw that you did that, and that's something that this watch completely missed entirely. Supposedly, it has quite improved sleep tracking. I have found that it didn't seem to track my sleep substantially differently from this, but a lot of those sleep tracking features do require several nights of wearing for them to really kick in and understand. Like there's a readiness score that's like, how rested and ready are you to start your day? And it's supposed to kind of advise you as to whether maybe you should try and take it easy this day, or, you know, maybe you feel more rested and want to push yourself on your next workout or something. The first night it gave me a readiness score, it said it was a 7, and that's out of 100, which to me sounds like, and I had a pretty good day that day. I don't think it was that bad. So let's talk about the AFib. I have this device, it's called a Cardia. It's basically a way to get a single lead ECG pretty quickly and very accurately. I had a bout of AFib while wearing this watch. The AFib detection was set up and activated and set to on, and this thing did not detect it. Whereas when I pulled out my Cardia and logged it, it was like, yeah, you have AFib. There's some arguments to be made. A lot of the times when these watches are going like, oh, we're detecting AFib, it expects a certain duration. Perhaps my bout of AFib didn't happen for long enough for this thing to fire off. AFib is only really dangerous over a long period of time. Most bouts are not going to be immediately dangerous. And Cardia, being something that I need to pull out and measure, has its own interest in being like, letting me being hypersensitive and having false positives, right? It would be better for the company to be like, oh, you have AFib, and then you go talk to your doctor, rather than say you don't have AFib and then you die. So it's either here nor there. I am pretty worried because I was like, it was something that was quite a noticeable bout, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the more subtle times that I've noticed it. That isn't to say that it doesn't work at all. That is to say that if you know that you have something like AFib, you should really consider getting a dedicated device for tracking and not relying exclusively on a watch. But don't take my advice, talk to your doctor about either of these things. Maybe these are actually good and I'm a dum-dum. But outside of that, the heart rate tracking is really good. I took this out on a couple of runs and it did a great job of accurately measuring my heart rate. And it can do a lot of sports now. Fitbit has support for so many sports, and you can even swim in this because it has IP68 water resistance, and they claim it can go up to 50 meters deep. Somehow they also maintain that rating while it being pretty repairable. Obviously, once you crack this thing open, it will not have an IP68 rating anymore, but it's nice to see that we finally have a sort of repairable Google Watch, because in the past, they were just like, oh, it's broken, gotta buy a new one, better throw that one out. Future Adam here. Maybe I was being a little too cynical, because right after we recorded this, turns out that iFixit gives the repairability score of this a provisional 9 out of 10, which is awesome to see. Good job, Google. It's tough to like get excited about the Pixel Watch 4 because it is very incremental. But to me, it feels like they've really finally refined the product to the point that it, in my eyes, is basically an Android equivalent to an Apple Watch in terms of its seamless integration with the Android ecosystem, its polish, its design and identity. I think it's super comfortable. It's even tackling some of those like survival type features that Apple has really been tackling on the most recent Apple Watches, as dual frequency GPS, which makes this thing super accurate for tracking my runs. This also has emergency satellite texting. It has fall detection. It has loss of pulse detection. So I don't even know how that works. Because you think it would be like, you would not want that to be too sensitive. Could you imagine like sending your loved one a loss of pulse notification? It's a feature that you can turn on. It also has like car crash detection, all that sort of stuff. And they brought a bunch of those features back to earlier versions of the Pixel Watch. If you want to learn more about what features are going on to the old models, Google has it all listed on their website. So where does that leave us with the Pixel Watch 4? I'm gonna say it, I was pretty satisfied with the 2R. I now don't like it anymore. I like Pixel Watch 4. I really wish that Google would steal the dual OS thing that they do on the OnePlus watches that lets you have the super, super long, low energy modes with a high performance main OS for most days. The build quality seems great. You might be a little sketched out by the Corning Gorilla Glass 5 instead of having a sapphire crystal thing, but you have to trade off the shatterproofness with the hardness. I think it's better that this gets some scratches than it breaks entirely. It's a really slick package, and I think Google's really refined the watch. And if you've been eyeing a Pixel watch for a long time, this is the one where I think you should take the plunge. Except the price has gone up. The 41mm watch is $350, the 45 is $400. If you want LTE, add $100 to each of those prices. The OnePlus Watch 2R will get you 90% of the way there for a substantially lower price. However, I think this thing's more comfortable, it's more stylish. However, it does very much look like the Pixel Watch. It doesn't really blend in. If you're somebody who wants to have a more traditional looking watch, this isn't really for you. It's definitely going for a more sporty type of look that I am kind of fond of. And I'm fond of you for watching this video. If you like this one, why not check out the Pixel Watch 3, because then you can see the differences between the two, and maybe you can pick up a Pixel Watch 3 on discount as they go out of stock.